Hello everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the 4 days of Facebook. It's hard to believe. It's going fast. It's going very fast. Hope you enjoyed yesterday. Yesterday was a big day. We had Gary Vaynerchuk, our CEO, Brian Halligan, Sanan Arel. If you are interested, go back and watch those videos if you missed it. They were pretty awesome. It was really an action-packed day yesterday. I'm Marcus Andrews from the product marketing team here at HubSpot. Today we're really going to roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty in the product. With me is Crystal King from our Academy team. She's our social media professor. So between the two of us, hopefully we can drop some knowledge and really impart some kind of tactical how do you do this stuff sort of thing today. Crystal's going to walk you through how you build a buyer persona. So hopefully this will be fast. We got about 45 minutes, but hopefully at the end of today you'll know how to or have the beginning of a buyer persona that you can use to target your ads, really inform a lot of your campaigns. And I'm going to show you how to get inside of HubSpot Marketing Free or HubSpot Marketing and create your first lead ad. We're going to be able to take questions today, so if you have questions, just drop them on the Facebook page. You can even test it out right now. We'd love to know how well you can hear us, if everything looks good, and let us know where you're from. That way we can start to make sure everything's working and take a look. Or if you have questions now, feel free to drop them in. We'll be monitoring them and answering them live. Great. Okay, so Crystal is, like I mentioned, she's our Social Media Academy professor at HubSpot. She speaks and writes on social media, and today she's going to talk to us about buyer personas. Crystal, do you have a highlight of the 4 days of Facebook so far?
Yes, yesterday Sanan's talk was amazing. He talked about social influence, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely go back. I'm going to rewatch it because there were some incredible facts in there that are super useful for marketers.
Very cool. Yeah. Totally agree.
So today I'm going to walk you through buyer personas. And if you're a current HubSpot customer, you probably are a little bit familiar with buyer personas. But if not, don't worry, we're going to walk you through a high-level overview. Then I'm going to take you deeper, a bit more of a deep dive into some data points that are going to help you target your Facebook lead ads a little bit better. So I'm going to set you up for what Marcus is actually going to show you. And so let's talk about buyer personas. And what are they? Essentially, as you can see on the screen, they're a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer. And they're based upon research, some select educated speculation, very select, but all about your customer demographics, behavior patterns, motivations, the goals of the customer that you ideally want to have purchase your products. And so why are buyer personas important? Essentially, they are kind of the glue that holds your inbound marketing together. Understanding the customers that you are trying to sell to and what their interests are and who they are is going to help you not only target your advertising better, but it's going to help you create better content, which will hopefully lead to more you'll attract more people, you'll get more leads and hopefully convert those people into customers. And so let's talk about how you're going, what does that look like? What does a buyer persona look like after you've created it? And so here's one that I'm not going to dive too deep into yet, but this is the demographics for Corporate Kathy. This is a sample buyer persona. And she is essentially the ideal buyer for our imaginary product today. And you can see there's a little bit of information about her. We know that we know a few personal things about her, that she's got a couple kids. She's been in her role for about 5 years. She's a manager with high expectations for her team. She's worried about generating enough leads for the sales team. But how do you get all this to look like this? How do you create a buyer persona that's sort of similar? So you have to start with conducting persona research. You actually need to really do a deep dive into what your customers are thinking about. It needs to be based off of actual research. You can't just assume you know who your customers are. The good thing is that there's a lot of great ways to do this research. And so you get started by interviewing your customers. And that means talking to your current client base. That's the best place to start. You can talk to your prospects. I would recommend that you talk to coworkers who might be customer facing, that are dealing with customers themselves and what they're hearing. You can also talk to people, I would say your customers that are both good customers, and then also your customers who might be ones you would consider problematic or unhappy potentially, because they might have some very valuable insights. And I would imagine amongst those customers, you're going to find somebody who's really your ideal target. So what kinds of questions do you ask?
Any advice on like setting those calls up or anything like that? Is it, I don't know, you call someone and say, hey, let's have a buyer persona interview? Probably not, right? Is it just like in the flow of a normal call?
I would say in the flow of a normal conversation would be a better way to do it. You can also do surveys of your customers.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to do it. Or as part of the flow, as you're maybe onboarding them, you can get a little bit more information. So you can get this information in a variety of ways. And there's some very specific types of questions you can ask.
Yeah.
Some of it you'll know just as a matter of maybe while you're doing your qualification. So things like the job role and the title. But what industries are they in? What is the buyer trying to accomplish? What their biggest challenges are. And one other thing that's super important is how they learn information about their job. How do they learn? What and is that through magazines? Is it through their colleagues? Is it through an academy like HubSpot Academy? Find out where they're getting their information.
It probably needs to be standardized to some point, right? Or maybe just you should ask the same series of questions. Or
I would say that's definitely a good thing to do. Because you want to create some synergy between the customer information that you're acquiring, so that when you're creating your persona, you have a similar set of information. So, for example, then once you have all that data, you're going to take it and put it into a template, much like you see here on the screen. And that will have information that is pretty clear. So about this ideal buyer. So what their background is, what the key information about them. You want to understand their gender, age range, household income. These are some basic demographics. The buzzwords and mannerisms that might apply to them, which are also interesting, that will help with targeted advertising later. What are they most challenged by? And then also from a sales perspective, it's really important to understand what are their primary challenges in their workplace, and what are their most common objections. Why wouldn't they want to buy your product?
Yeah.
And one thing that's also very helpful is to have some real quotes that are part of this buyer persona, because this buyer persona is something that you're going to hopefully proliferate amongst your employees at the company, so that everybody knows who the ultimate buyer is. And so as they're creating content, as they're creating their sales pitches, as they're developing marketing material, everyone's marching to the beat of the same drum.
I know at HubSpot, it's nice as we kind of came on board. That's one of the first things you learn about is our buyer persona. We have a couple actually, but it does just that. Like you said, it really like helps you get in their head a little bit, and like makes it easier for you to start creating content because you already know who you're building it for.
Exactly. And so what do you do to take it a little bit further? So you saw the demographics in the buyer persona, but there's something that's going to help you do Facebook advertising a little bit more specifically.
100%.
So the cool thing about Facebook is that you can get really detailed. You can know a lot more about your customers than you might have imagined. Facebook's a platform that has all sorts of really personal information on people. And so how do you reach those people in Facebook, which is the site that most people are using for personal use? And so that means you need to know a little bit more about your customer than what you might have had in the original buyer persona. So we're going to look at what we call psychographics. And psychographics measure a customer's attitudes and their interests rather than general demographics. And so let's look at some of the types of things that you might want to ask instead, or want to discover about your buyers as you're creating kind of a deeper buyer persona. So note that on this screen here that the two columns don't necessarily correlate directly, but they're each important to know about your buyer persona. So you want to understand things about them, such as their aspirations, their motivations, their opinions on things, their lifestyle that they're leading, and the hobbies that they might have. And so some of the kinds of questions you might ask is, well, what brands do they identify with? Are they a PC or a Mac user, for example? What online sites do they visit? Are they interested in TMZ, or are they checking out, Newsweek, for example? Or what types of books and magazines do they read? What are their hobbies? You might want to understand if they have a particular political bent, if they exercise regularly, or if they're into certain sports teams. How tech savvy are they? Could be really important, especially if you have a technology product. And then who or what influences their product choices, and where do they prefer to shop? So what does this actually mean? It means that you have to find this data, and it's easier than you might think. That's the cool part about it, is that you might be thinking, how on earth do I find all of this? Because it's really personal, right? But what's really cool is you probably already have a lot of this information, either in blog or website comments, sales or purchase data. There's, you can have industry reports that might have some of this information, but the really I would say one of the best places to get this information is actually your social media analytics. And so, for example, Twitter and Facebook have these fairly deep insights. I would go into your business pages and look at your insights, and you can get all sorts of persona attributes that you might not have really realized are there. So I realize it's small on this screen here, but what you're seeing is actually the HubSpot Academy Twitter analytics and the Facebook analytics. And the Twitter analytics, for example, show you that HubSpot Academy followers tend to like entertainment and humor. And so that might mean that I want to adjust my content to be a little bit more funny, right? So get a few more memes or jokes in there. But there's a lot of really great information in these social insights that I highly recommend that you dig through, because what they're going to do is actually help you target your keywords a lot better. So once you have all that data, what's that going to look like now? So here's the demographics for Corporate Kathy. We talked about that. These is the general demographics, all sorts of really basic things about her. She's in her late 30s to early 40s. Her income's like $70K. She's got really high ambitions. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but what might it look like if you go a little bit further on get all of that psychographic data? So this is what Corporate Kathy looks like. Suddenly she becomes a little bit more human, right? So you know that she loves her Apple products, and she drives a Volkswagen, and she likes to shop on Etsy, and she does yoga, and she's probably a little bit technologically inclined because she's reading Mashable and Fast Company, and she has a Fitbit, right? So there's a lot of information you can glean about her. So when you're trying to figure out how you're going to target your Facebook ads, you can dip into these psychographics and your buyer personas and really actually find your ideal customer. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to Marcus now, because he's going to show you exactly how to talk about how to map this type of psychographic information into your lead ads.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. Yes, I think after listening to Sanan yesterday, too, he was connecting some dots about how some of this stuff works, where he was telling us about homophily and how birds of a feather flock together and that sort of thing. Like if you build this profile, this buyer persona of people, and you're able to start to connect dots and look at it's one person, but it can help you kind of focus on an entire group of people. And I know some of you growth hackers out there may be saying this would take me a while to build. There's some steps that go in here, but I promise you, like, take the time to build this out, like an hour. Like you've got the walkthrough from the expert. If you take the time to just kind of like walk through this and build it, it's going to save you a ton of time. You're going to be able to use it right now as I dive into this. Okay. So let's jump into, before we jump into the product, let's talk about a couple things really quickly. So we're going to build a lead ad. So a lead ad is a newer ad unit from Facebook. It's built specifically for SMB, B2B marketers, and it's great because it works to help convert a mobile audience on Instagram and Facebook into leads. It's something like more than 80% of all social media usage is coming from a mobile device now. Everybody is spending time on Facebook and Instagram, but they're doing it from mobile. And so you need to be able to, right now there's a lot of opportunity in that space because a lot of B2B marketers aren't great at it.
Right.
So if you can figure it out, you can fish where the fish are, you can be one of the first people to kind of get there and convert this audience. And lead ads are great at doing it. You can see a little example here because they offer a great CTA. So you have this ad on the mobile app that takes up the full screen. And the CTA can be something like get a quote or subscribe or download or learn more, and then it'll take you to a form inside of the app. And the form, the great thing about this ad unit is that the form is pre-populated with data that Facebook already knows about the user. And so they don't have to take the time to fill out the form, which is what kills conversion rates on mobile for kind of typical B2B marketing.
Makes it super easy.
Makes it super easy. If you, as the user, want to edit some stuff, you can do it. As the advertiser, you can ask a custom question. But we're seeing great results from it for our customers. They're seeing higher conversion rates than desktop in some places. And it's still pretty, the cost per acquisition is still pretty cheap right now, really. So.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, okay. All right, so a couple quick housekeeping things. We're gonna jump into the product too, but if you don't have HubSpot or if you don't have HubSpot Marketing Free, take a second and go to hubspot.com/product/marketing/free and sign up. You can do it right now while I'm still talking, and it'll take you 5 minutes, and you'll be able to follow along with us. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check. If you don't have a Facebook ads account, it's perfectly fine. You don't need one. But if you do have one, it's good to have access to the account. You can check at facebook.com/ads/manage. And then there's 2 other things that you'll need to do to really make this effective. One is that you need to set a budget, right? Like, it's really hard to figure out how much to spend on ads.
Yeah.
That's before you get in, know what products to use, or you have to justify the budget from your boss potentially. You have to figure out, like, how much am I going to spend on this?
Right.
And then the important question to ask is, like, if I'm going to spend on this, what am I going to get in return? Like, I don't think anybody should use ads if they don't use them to get for a positive ROI.
Yeah, it's better to have an educated guess than a shot in the dark, right?
100%. Yeah. Okay. And then the 4th thing is you're going to need a privacy policy for lead ads, and we have a resource for that too. All right, so let's take a look. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I just mentioned that you should set a budget for your ads. What we have at hubspot.com/ads-calculator is a way to build a budget for your ads based on ROI. So you can come to this site, you can say, I want to spend $2,000, or maybe I just want to spend $100. What I'd recommend for what we're doing here is a budget of $30. If you can actually take $30 and plug it into lead ads today, you're going to see some results, and you're going to start to get some data, and it's a test that you can actually put into action. But if your budget is $100, take a quick guess at your CPC, also your target conversion rate, your average sales price, and your lead to customer rate. These are things you can kind of guess at if you don't have a great idea. But what it's going to do is it's going to show you, for your budget, this is what you can expect to get based on the inputs that you put in. And so you don't have to go in blind. You can build a little projection. You can take this to your boss and say, hey, I need $500 or I need $200 to run this test. I think it should get us 4 or 5 leads. And you're going to actually have a pretty accurate idea of what's happening there. The other resource that I want to share with you quickly is the privacy policy blog post that our product manager of our ads product actually wrote. This is just going to help you get set up with a very basic privacy policy. It's really easy to jump in here and check out this post and then get started. Okay, so let's look at the product. All right, so inside of HubSpot Marketing, if you have our HubSpot paid tools, you're going to find under content a new ads item in the nav. And it's going to take you to the lead ads creation dashboard. If you have HubSpot Marketing Free, like hopefully a lot of you do, you probably could just set one up in the time that I've been talking here. You're going to see an ads item in the nav. So you click on this, and it's going to take you to everything we need to get started today. All right. So once you've made it to this screen, it's time to create your first ad. And so to do that, what we're going to do is click this button, and we will jump into the creation flow. All right, so the first step is to connect your account. Once you've done that, it's very easy to, what I would recommend doing, and hopefully you're following along. If you can do this along with me, that's great. If you want to just take some notes and get in here and then do it yourself a little bit later, go for it. But feel free to try and launch one today. So what you're seeing right now is we're inside of Facebook. We're inside of the Facebook Ads Manager. This is a native integration that we built with Facebook. HubSpot is the first to actually pilot this integration with Facebook. And what you're seeing is the form builder for lead ads. So on the right is your preview of the ad. On your left is the form. The first step is to tell Facebook what information you want to collect. So email and full name. You click more options, it's going to show you what else Facebook can automatically populate into these forms. So if you're B2B, check out this bottom bucket here. Maybe you want to capture job title in work email and not email. And so you can click off of email and you can say, I want their work email, and Facebook will do its best to give you their work email. Or you can specify that in the form. You can capture a lot of information here, but you want to be careful about how much information you do capture. The lower the conversion rate probably. So be careful here. If you can make these simple, do it. If this is the first time someone is hearing about you through this ad, you may want to have a very simple form. So the second part of this is the ability to ask a custom question. So let me grab this really quick. The ability to ask a custom question. And so in the custom question, you can ask like, what is? And you can make this a short answer or a drop down, and basically you can have it open-ended, or it can be yes or no. You delete the question, you can do multiple choice and have this as so lots of fun things you can do here. It can be a marketing budget, etc. For the thank you screen, you want to put in wherever. This is probably a landing page that you built or a landing page on your site where somebody can pick up the information that you promised them in the ad. And in the privacy policy, you want to link to the privacy policy that you built. Okay, so we just built the form. Let's move on to the next part, which is the creative. All right, so now we are in the creative. A lot of these ads are going to show on desktop, but they're also going to show on mobile, right? So you probably want to preview this in mobile and get a really good idea of what it looks like. You want to make sure that these ads work on mobile. I promise you they're going to have great conversion rates on mobile. So your headline should be something like subscribe. This is going to be what is down here in the bottom. Maybe this is your company name, something kind of informative right next to the button. And then the text is going to be really about whatever it is you're offering people. So
can you tell us if this is going to also connect into Instagram?
Yeah, exactly. So because Facebook is Instagram and Facebook, these ads are going to show on Facebook, they're going to show on Instagram, they're going to show on the desktop site, they're going to show on the mobile app.
Awesome.
You can control that in the ads manager, but they look really nice on Instagram. If you upload the right image, they look almost the best on Instagram, I think. So.
Great.
Yes. All right. So you upload your image. For this, why don't we use a pic of our buddy Gary V. Once you've done that, you select the call to action. If this is for a newsletter, maybe we do subscribe. And then we get into some tricky stuff. All right, we're in the audience targeting. So there's a few more advanced features you can do with Facebook. Things like lookalike audience, things like retargeting, things like audience expansion, which are awesome. It's more of an advanced feature. It's very powerful and very cool. It's usually kind of step 2 after you start with more demographic and psychographic targeting. So let's just take a look at how that works. Okay, so inside of the audience targeting, you can hit edit. And so this is where we just did ourselves a huge favor by building this persona, right? So if we go back to our persona.
Good old Kathy.
Good old corporate Kathy.
There she is.
We can see that she is in her late to early 30s. She's female. She has an income over 70K. Let's start with that. We like those numbers, right? So let's say she is 33, 45, female. She's in the United States. Then we jump into interests, and a lot of this is really open-ended. So maybe we want to get rid of some of the starters that Facebook kicked us off with, and we want to say income. All right, so what did we say? Like 50 to 70, does that sound good-ish for Kathy? Okay, so we say income. We say that she is married. Should come up here. Yep. relationship status, married, and what was our other one?
She has a couple kids. She's a manager in the business world.
All right, well, let's stick with what we have here. And so this is going to get us started, right? We can also narrow down by location, so we can do things like, a great way to go and get even a little bit more specific depending on your...
You can even get really deep and get into neighborhoods if you really want to get targeted.
Well, I've done it earlier, but you can target neighborhoods and specific addresses and things like that.
It's interesting.
Yes, which is an interesting use case for like ABM or something like that. You could almost target a somebody's building, and very fun things.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got some basic demographic stuff. Let's dig into some of the psychographic points that Crystal was describing. Okay, so let's start with, I love the websites and kind of what do they read and like what informs them. It's a good signal to say like, this is our people. This is who we want to target. So let's check this out.
And there it is.
And there it is. And you can really put in just about anything here. And so, Facebook knows a lot. You're able to do a ton. Let's get even a little further down.
And she likes yoga. Yep.
Yoga. So as you can see, there's a ton that you can do here. You don't want to over-target. You want to make sure you keep an eye on this. 1 million may be too big, depending on the size of your business, depending on
the budget too, right?
Especially depending on the budget. And then things like your lead time, your business model. There's a lot that goes into this, but these are the basics. And once you've got it, you save it, and you can hit promote, and you're going to go live, right? And then you've got a lead ad that's going to be showing to this audience that's going to be out there. Okay, so once you've done that and you've created this, what we're going to do is show you some basic analytics on that ad. So you can always see more inside of the Facebook Ads Manager. Things like billing and advanced placement and advanced settings will happen inside of the Facebook Ads Manager. And you can always find that data at facebook.com/ads/manage. This is kind of what it looks like here.
Can you do A and B testing on the lead ads? That's exciting.
Yeah, so you can create a campaign, and you can put different ad sets inside of the campaign. And Facebook will actually optimize a lot of that for you. So they'll take their machine learning algorithms, and they'll look to see what's resonating, what's not, and help optimize your ads for you, which is awesome. Yes, so you're going to see a lot of information on these ads, but most importantly, what you're going to see is, let's see if we got a little more data in here. Most importantly, what you're going to see is contacts come in. And so every time someone fills out this lead form, without the HubSpot integration, they just go into a CSV inside of Facebook, which is unfortunate because what you really want to do is you want to reach out to that person as soon as they filled out that lead. They're interested in your piece of content. It's great if they can go to a thank you page to check it out, but what if they go to a thank you page, read it, and then they also get a call from a salesperson, or they get a warm email that comes to them right after that.
Exactly.
And then they're still in that moment. If you wait a few days or a week, you might miss it.
It's not the same.
Exactly. So here we can see an example of a lead that came in through a Facebook lead ad into HubSpot. It's inside. If you have the free product, you've got them in your CRM. You can easily call them. If you have them in the paid product, you can use all of this data as a signal to inform your other marketing efforts. So this is what it looks like. They'll come in, they'll look like a lead form, and then you can take inside of HubSpot marketing, you can build a list based on those people. So all right, I want to build a new list, and I want it to be around a Facebook ads property. Let's call it a lead ad is true, and I do that, and it's going to generate me a list of everybody who has filled out a lead ad. So boom, there you go. I can take this list, I can plug it into a nurturing flow, and so that anytime somebody new comes in, they get an email that's introducing them to a salesperson. There's another workflow that tells the salesperson that, hey, if this person opens the email, you should call them. So you can start to do some really advanced stuff now that we have this integration between Facebook and HubSpot.
So I know that lead ads are available for people that have HubSpot Marketing Free. Mm-hmm. What about some of the other things that you're talking about, the lead flows and things like that? Where does it end?
So there's some basic stuff inside of HubSpot Marketing Free. You can really do a great job of getting started with HubSpot Marketing Free, building your database, getting started building a list, starting to run ads, starting to capture interest from people who are visiting your website. When you get to the point that you want to start doing things like email and marketing automation and have more in-depth analytics and really build a bigger database, you'll want to upgrade to marketing paid. And so there's lots of ways to do it. There's lots of options. If you're using HubSpot Marketing Free, use it to its full advantage, take it and max it out to its limit, and then kind of look for interesting things that you might want to do that you need the marketing tools for.
But it's a great way to try it out before you have to make a decision, right?
Absolutely. Great way to get started too. If anybody's entrepreneurs or startups out there, it's a great tool when you're a small team especially. Okay, so we want to get into questions, so let's keep going here. All right, so where was I? Awesome. So yeah, this is what the leads look like. And then I think that was everything there. All right, so we talked about reporting. And all right, so then if you want to see some more advanced stuff, you can jump into the Facebook Ads Manager. This is a really great tool. The cool thing about it is that there's lots of ways you can go really in depth. If you want to use HubSpot for the basic stuff and then kind of graduate into this, it's totally fine. You don't need to necessarily use one over the other. You can use both, how it suits your needs. They also have a very cool mobile app, which I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so you see this is the Facebook Ads mobile app, and it'll show you basically everything that you see inside of the Ads Manager. It's an awesome way to kind of stay up on your ads campaigns. I think when I launch a Facebook lead ads campaign, I want to kind of know everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. I want as soon as a lead comes through or the spend starts to go up, it's really kind of fun to watch, and the app will send you push notifications. And then if you need help, this is a great place to go. Also, if you need help, you can go to the, you can jump into Messenger. Facebook Business will actually send you some updates on Messenger about your promotion. And so you can preview it, you can look to see it, you can look at other promotions that you have running and get updates here. If you're interested in kind of getting out of email a little bit and using Messenger for some of this stuff, it's a great way to do it. You can also ask HubSpot. So if you got a notification from HubSpot about the event today via Messenger, or if you just go to Facebook Messenger and search for HubSpot, you can send us a message. You can say hi, and we'll reply when we see it. That's a more personal thing. But you can also do things like search resources.
Very cool.
Yeah. So if I search resources, I can put in just about anything. And what if I say like Facebook lead ads? HubSpot is going to go to work, and it's going to look for resources or blog posts. And whoops, let's try social. But it's going to go through, I wanted to search the blog, that's why I did that. But if you search the blog, it's going to go to work, and it's going to find information about lead ads. You can search for SEO advice or marketing tips. So how to create Facebook lead ads, a beginner's guide. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Facebook, thank you for, or sorry, HubSpot, thank you for bringing that up. It's going to show me the content right there. I can look at other related content, and then I can jump to the page. So you can honestly think about this as a little HubSpot CSM kind of in your pocket. They're going to help, you can easily find what you're looking for. It's conversational. We're going to help you out with things here. We have lots of cool stuff happening with Facebook Messenger. So use it for fun. Check it out. We encourage you to use it to kind of get through our content and that sort of thing. So Ooh, we're almost done
that was
here.
a lot of information.
Getting into questions, but Facebook Messenger is very cool. It does lots of things. It's also a camera. So here we are. You guys can even say hi to our crew. What's up, guys? And my favorite part about it is that you can even do stuff like
Tacos.
eat tacos. So, you know,
Yeah.
this is what social media is really all about. It's about tacos. You can have a lot of fun with it. It's pretty cool. And there's a lot that's like inside of Facebook Messenger more and more every day. And so, you know, there's messaging apps like Line and kind of other things that are happening in different parts of the world where people are using messaging apps for all sorts of stuff. So Facebook Messenger is very fun. You should check it out. Check out the taco filter. Highly recommend it. All right, let's get out of here. Okay. Great. Okay, so
I think we have a bunch of questions to answer.
Let's do it.
All right, so Michael has asked, it looks like I can answer the first couple of these. How many people do you have to talk to before you can confidently make a persona? And how much data do you need? That's a great question. I think that it sort of depends on you and your business and the amount of information that you can gather. I would say you'd probably want to talk to several dozen customers at minimum. Definitely try to do some polling if you can, get some industry reports, find out as much information as you can. The more information you have, I think the more informed you're going to be. But I don't think there's a hard or fast rule on that. It's really going to be depending on the patterns that you start to see as you start talking to customers, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
And then Eric asked, what about negative buyer personas? And so it would be easy to probably create some negative buyer personas, but we're really looking for your ideal buyer. So negative is probably helpful in a different kind of way, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
Just sprinkle it in maybe with, she wouldn't do this or she definitely would do this, but
yeah. But I don't think you need a specific buyer persona for somebody that you don't want. Yeah, spend your time on who you really want to target, I would say. So there's a few more here too.
Yes, there's a question around, can Facebook lead ads be used for B2C? Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they're a B2B ad unit. I think there's better like Facebook in a lot of ways started with their ads building for B2C.
Yeah.
So their video ads are very cool. Their carousel ads and canvas ads are awesome. So if you're looking for really good B2C stuff, I would look in those directions. There's probably a use case for B2B or for B2C with lead ads, but
I would say like, maybe getting people to sign up for your mailing list and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Events, if you do, if you are B2C and have like an event or some kind of like thing like that, lead ads are great for that. But yeah.
Yeah. If you're crunched for time and unable to set up interviews, this is from Noah, by the way, to build a persona, what are the recommended sources to build a detailed one? Again, industry reports will be helpful. Do a survey. That would probably be the fastest thing you could do. You could even whip one up in SurveyMonkey, actually, and just send it out to your customers. I would say that's probably the quickest way to gather the most amount of information. But you should probably be doing this as early as you can in your process. And again, if you build it into your sales process too, it would be super helpful as they're closing leads, they're asking certain questions. Also, any of your marketing campaigns can ask some of these questions perhaps as well. So,
do they change over time? Is there a good time to like refresh your buyer persona or update it, or is it always locked in? How do you think about that?
I would say maybe every year or so you should probably at least take a look and see, because particularly if your product has changed, the market's changed a lot. And there's a lot of companies that decide, oh, you know what, our product's evolving, and so the kind of customer that we need to sell to is different. And so, yeah, I would say maybe once a year. If you're in a very fast-moving industry, maybe a little bit more frequently.
Cool. So question here from Mickey, is Facebook Forms saved in HubSpot Forms so that you can create a workflow? Yes, absolutely. So it sounds like you have the paid HubSpot marketing tools. What it will look like, it'll look like someone filled out a form, even though they came through the Facebook lead ad unit. It'll look like a form fill. It'll have some information about the Facebook ad campaign. So you can kick off a workflow, and that's absolutely what you should do. because then you can automate this process. So, if you have a lead ad that says download our white paper or subscribe to our newsletter, you can have them automatically get an email from a workflow as soon as they submit the button, which is kind of a cool experience for the user.
Great. Josh asked, how should the audience size of your target segments affect how much money you should spend on that particular campaign or audience?
Yes, so you have to start to think about your budget and how much inventory you have. There's a relationship between the two. So if you have $1 million to spend, but you're only targeting 5 people, you're never going to spend all of that money because Facebook can only show ads to those people so much.
Right.
And your ads are probably not going to get served very much because they're not going to just bombard these people with ads. But if you have the inverse, if you have like a million-person audience, but you're only spending $5, you're really not going to reach that audience very well. And so you kind of want to say, all right, if I've got $100 to spend and I know that I'm going to get a certain amount of clicks, you can use that ads calculator to start to kind of like understand what your budget size should be and do some of that targeting. But it's imperfect. You just want to you don't want to be over-targeted and you don't want to be too broad. If you've got a few $1,000s to spend, looking at 100,000 people audience, 200, 300, 400,000, you're going to spend your budget and you're going to be able to do it in like a pretty tight time frame, but not bombard these people with your ads.
But I would say also too, I would imagine that the great thing about Facebook is you can actually do a lot of testing for a very little amount of money.
Absolutely.
See if your ads are actually reaching the right people for $50 and before you spend $5,000. So you can always try.
And you can test audiences too. You can say like, I want to try a few different audiences I want to take my $500, I'm going to put $100 on 5 different audiences, and I want to see which audience comes back with the best quality leads.
Yep.
And then you figure that out and you say, oh, that audience is more valuable, this audience is less valuable. I'm going to do more of what's working and less of what's not. You can continue to do that process again and again with ads and really start to increase your ROI.
So Kaylee asked, how are lead ads different from regular Facebook sponsored ads?
Yes. So lead ads are those ad units that have the form built into it. So if you are, a lot of what I see people do is I've been getting hit with more B2B ads on Instagram. Like my friends at the sales line.
I'm seeing more of that too, actually.
Yeah, I know, it's interesting, right, all of a sudden. My friends at the sales line, George, I saw a great ad on Instagram from those guys. And I clicked on it, and it said, download our ebook or something to that effect. And I clicked on it, and it took me to their landing page. That's like a typical ad flow form. You get to their landing page, you click on the button, and you get to a form that's a little janky on your
mobile
phone.
Yeah.
It's hard to fill out. Maybe you accidentally click on something, and it goes off, and then you run out of patience, and you click off of it. Mm-hmm. With those lead ads, you stay inside of the ad unit. You never leave, go into a mobile browser, and the form is automatically populated for you. So you just have to click like 2 taps.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So it's nice that if you want to do an offer campaign with ads, look at these lead ads. Love you, sales line.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. Nora asked, how many fields do you recommend using for a lead ad?
That's a great question. You want to balance the information you need to get from your lead gen campaigns with what a user is going to take. So there's basic stuff that people are okay with sharing: name, email address, title, name of the company. I think those are all great. You get into phone number; it's a little bit more personal information. People may be less willing to share. Get into address or zip code, you're kind of starting to go down where you're asking for a little too much.
Well, it's also a lot to type in, too.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, so you want to be careful with all of that. But you can get a lot of information, and you can test it, too. Like you were saying earlier, you should just test to see where you're getting the best conversion rates. So.
Great.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all very much for attending. Let me make sure I promote the next session. So this is day 3. It's the end of day 3. We've got one more day of the 4 days of Facebook.
But it's going to be a good day tomorrow.
It is going to be a good day tomorrow. I feel like I'm super excited for it. Our founder of HubSpot, Dharmesh, who is really passionate about bots, he built GrowthBot. which has been super successful. Him and Anand from Facebook, who is kind of the lead of the Messenger ecosystem over there at Facebook. They're going to talk about bots. They're going to talk about Messenger. MK will be back to interview them. That's going to happen at 11:30 Eastern tomorrow morning. So make sure to tune in for it. And also, this session, I know there's a lot in it. On the customer blog tomorrow, you've got a post coming out, right?
Yes. So if this is a lot of information to take in and you want it actually just outlined a little bit more specifically for you, there'll also be templates for how you can, there's templates you can use for your buyer persona. There's a video of Marcus walking you through the lead ad one more time. So on the user blog tomorrow morning, it will be posted.
Great. And we'll make sure that there's links in there. So check that out. And we'll probably follow up via email or messenger with that blog post.
Yeah.
But thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to chat. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right.